start from there.
It's on. Are you guys ready?
Okay, the talk show at the end, at the later part. First, we do some serious news, and then.
I mean, we do one piece of news and do some commentary.
Yes. But at the beginning, the first part is we do news one by one. I do one.
No. We don't have to first do the news, then do the comment. We do one piece of news and we exchange our view about this.
Oh, okay. So I do the news first, and then
we finish
exchange
the commentary, then we move on to another.
And then the next piece of news would be done by you.
Yes. Okay.
So when you are. So when you are doing the news, I can search for something. Okay.
What? Excuse me?
It's okay.
Okay. We're ready.
No.
Good afternoon. Welcome to this edition of News Talk. I'm your host Raymond.
I'm your host Sice. Today we are going to focus on a very important news that happened. Actually, yesterday. It's very sad.
You have to speak into the microphone because we can't. The microphone. You have to. Yeah.
So, hey, Jenny. Okay.
Yeah.
So can we restart again?
Yeah.
Go for it. Okay.
No.
Take 2.
No, not ready.
Okay. Microphone. Yes. Okay. Yes.
No.
You're live. People are watching you, by the way.
Really?
Sice.
Huh?
You're live. You're being watched.
Oh, really?
On Twitter.
Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this edition of News Talk. I'm your host, Raymond.
I'm your host, Sice. Today we're going to focus on a very important news that happened in Nepal. Nepal earthquake. Many forced to sleep in tents. Thousands of people in Nepal are sleeping in tents on the open air after the earthquake which hit the country on Saturday. Hundreds of buildings were destroyed, and aftershocks have made others too dangerous.
So, Sice, what was your feeling when you first hear this news?
Well, first of all, when I read this news, the first thing that came up in my mind is that it reminds me of an earthquake that happened in China many years ago. Well, of course, the numbers of deaths are very different. In this case, it's 4,000 so far, and that is tens of thousands, millions. It's very different. But one of the main reasons for the death toll is similar, which is the quality of the buildings. I just feel so sad that after so many cases of earthquakes, then they did not learn the lessons.
So, when you're reading the news, do you feel like the way they report news affects what you think of the news? It's like, because we're journalists, so do you think we should put more emphasis on the negative side of this earthquake or some positive side, like rescuing teamwork?
Well, I think as journalists, as the journalists in the domestic news organization, of course, somehow they should emphasize more on the facts that what is happening, what are the most serious area, who are the persons who need the help mostly, and that would be very, very helpful for the government to know where shall I move those rescue team to. But as foreign journalists, as working for international news organization, then I think we can put more emphasis on why this will happen. And why the governments in Nepal are so inefficient, and what other countries can help in this case.
I've also seen posts on WeChat or other social medias. They want to gather some volunteers who can speak the local language to help to translate something and answer the emergency calls. Right. Do you think that's an effective action to take?
I think so. Well, I can imagine that if something similar that happened in Europe or in America, then it wouldn't be a big problem. But in Nepal language, it's absolutely a big problem. And speaking of the rescue, and I have heard that China is also sending a big team to Nepal.
Yeah.
You know that?
Yes.
Well, it is said historically it's the biggest rescue team that China has sent, and China authority has promised that it will offer any help, any necessary help
Yeah,
that,
I think China for this time, China has
Hi.
grabbed its opportunity to present
Twitter.
its.
So you have some questions from the Twitter audience. Just keep an eye on your feed while we're broadcasting. You can answer
Okay.
the questions live.
Do we have Twitter now?
It's at HKBU VIDIGO. You're
Well,
live
I
on
think
Twitter.
we're still logging in the Twitter.
Okay, let's move on to the next piece of story, which is related to the earthquake. So, footage has emerged from climbers on Mount Everest, showing the movement and avalanche hurtled towards them when Saturday's earthquake struck in Nepal. Repeated avalanches have now swept away climbing ropes and ladders. So far, at least 17 people have been killed on the mountain, and more than 60 have been reported injured. At least 3,218 people are now known to have died in a massive earthquake, says officials.
What was the message? I didn't.
Yes, I'm wondering. Actually, these two news is closely related because of because of the earthquake that caused a big death in Nepal, and also the Everest avalanche. So I'm wondering, people must ask the question now. Is there any question on Twitter?
Let's have a look.
Yes, let's have a look.
And somebody's asking, how does it compare with the Sichuan earthquake?
So, back to the earthquake. Somebody asked, how does it compare to the Sichuan earthquake?
How can you read the news?
Well, you can elaborate just now. I put the word one point, which is the beauty, the architecture's quality. This is the first one. But I think there are also something similar, which is you can see both Sichuan and Nepal are on the volcano ring. Okay, the volcano ring. So that any country, any area, or any people who live in that area must be very, very cautious. I've heard of the news that many people in San Francisco has already been moving out because they're worrying about the possible earthquake that happened there. And the third point I would make here is that the corruption in the area. I wouldn't say Sichuan is a country, of course it's a province, but it's a province with very serious corruption. So the corruption would be another very good point to make. That similar in both cases.
And the difference, I think, for Nepal is a small country, and for Sichuan is a province in China. And the reaction towards the earthquake, I think the time for them to react is quite different because when the earthquake happened in 2008,
Move that to the middle.
and the Chinese put their yellow armies.
There's no Zoom function. And
That's much better.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
And there seems to be no Zoom function on Meerkat either.
That's Zoom?
There's no Zoom.
No.
This is a shame. I'm gonna try doing this.
It's like another way of
Yeah.
showing how strong this
So we need to be right.
military is.
That's where we need to be.
Yeah.
All right, let's fix that.
Also, geographically, there is a similar point too. It's a lot land, so people are hard to escape when something disastrous happens.
Why did it mute?
Yes.
Go to the next news.
So we go back to the avalanche on Everest, which is also related to the earthquake. So do you have a hobby of hiking somewhere?
Yeah, sure. Yes, of course. I like hiking, especially in an area like Hong Kong.
So what do you think are the pros and cons for hiking? Because sometimes you can face very unexpected situations like this avalanche.
No, I don't think my case would be comparable to the avalanche that happened recently, because most of the mountains I go are actually something that the government has already designed, and it's very safe. You can just follow the lane, and there's nothing bad to happen. But I know there are some people who would like to take advantage, would like to go somewhere. Would like to go somewhere that the government did not make the design very good, so that it sometimes makes troubles for the government because it takes time for the government to send a rescue team to save them. Right. So I think it's our responsibility sometimes to be self-responsible, to not make too much trouble.
got one audience question. So, were we talking about how do we compare earthquake, or we're just how to compare the solving the crisis of individuals?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your question.
We got one question from the audience. It says that, are we talking about how to compare those two earthquakes, or we're talking about how to, are we talking about the earthquake itself, or how to handle it?
Well, I think in both, I think for both cases, it makes sense for the both points, no matter in the earthquake itself, because they are both in the fire ring. This is the geographically, and also how the government handle the issues. But also, as you have mentioned, that because China government, when Sichuan earthquake happened, the Chinese government sent PLA to the area, which is something the whole government did not do. Okay. So there is similarity and difference too.
So let's move on to the next piece of news.
Okay. Italy's custom and border force patrols the Mediterranean Sea to save people who are attempting to cross from North Africa and Europe without safe conditions.
Okay,
More than 1,700 people are thought to have died so far in 2015, making the journey.
So,
and I've read the news before, and it talked about Italian government has decided not to take the Australian order that would send back illegal immigrants. And illegal, actually not only illegal immigrants, illegal immigrants and illegal immigrants is a big problem.
so I think the root cause for this refugee problem is because of poverty.
Super cool.
It is because there's a gap between the rich and poor, and the country itself is facing serious crisis. So people have to find some other ways to flee to other country, no matter how difficult situation they're facing. And I think first you have to get mentally prepared and then physically prepared, because once you step onto another new land, which is totally different from the environment you were brought up in, then you have to be ready for the language barrier, and you're also facing the problems of, for example, you have legal documents for you to take jobs there, and yeah, it's kind of people will get discriminated by those who are legal residents of the country. That's the case.
So how do you delete the old
I've been
tweets?
quite amazed
So you can actually,
Over here.
facing
here,
so much
we can unpublish these
Oh,
tweets,
I see. Okay.
and then it will update the ongoing.
Okay, cool.
Because they don't have a choice, because the country they live in is so, how to say, not
so unstable, so poor,
Yeah.
so many wars are going on. So one of the solutions that European governments are this time, different from the previous cases, is that they are going to help media government to its people. So like equality, I think that is.
What do you think that the Italian government should take action?
Well, I think it's a good question, and it's very tough for Italian government to ponder on, because Italy is a country very close to African continent. So if something happened in Africa, I think they are the first country that people to think about. But
I also heard that the captain who illegally smuggled those people to Italy has facing a charge. Yes. So what do you think about this issue?